Okay, hopefully you went ahead and you completed these two graphs in your note packet. If you did this third example here, this is what it looks like. The parabola has a vertex at 0, 0. It's opening up down, which is what I would expect because the a value is negative. The axis of symmetry then is a vertical line, so it would be x equals 0. And I went to find my focal length. Since the a value is negative 1/4, the absolute value of that a value is equal to 1 over 4c. The absolute value is always positive, so 1/4 equals 1 over 4c. So my c value must be equal to 1. Okay, so that's my focal length. So from the vertex, the focus is always inside the parabola. Since it went down, it's going to be 1 unit down, which is at the point 0, -1. And the directrix is going to be in the opposite direction, so it's going to be 1 unit up, and that's a line across there. So that's the line y equals 1. Okay, so if you had any issues with that, make sure you join a Zoom or send me an email and we can talk about that. Okay, I didn't have room to do this one. I do know that since y squared, it's the y that's squared, that it is going to open up this way. Okay, it's going to open up to the right, so make sure that you do that. Now the other thing I want to talk about is how to write the standard form of the equation. They're going to give you either the focus, like here, or a little bit further below, they're going to give you the directrix. When they give you the focus or the directrix, you have enough information to come up with the equation. You're trying to write what equation did we start with. Okay, and what I do for that is I draw myself a little sketch. So here's my sketch. Here's my graph. I know that the focus is going to be at 0, -4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's where the focus is at 0, -4. And the vertex is still at 0, 0. Okay, it says the vertex is at 0, 0. So here's the vertex of the parabola, and that's where the focus has to be. So we know that the parabola is going to open down because on all these examples that we graphed, the focus is always inside of the parabola. So it's 4 units down, so that means that the c value, the focal length, was 4. Okay, so if I go up here and I say 1 over 4c is equal to the absolute value of a, if I put that c value in here, I get the 1/16. Okay, since this parabola went down, I know that it's going to be in the form y equals ax squared. It will be the x that's squared and not the y because it went down, or if it goes up, same thing, same form. We got the a value is going to be 1/16, but the parabola itself is going down, so that means it's going to be a negative 1/16 x squared. That would be the equation of the parabola in standard form. Okay, if I go to this question right here, if I kind of plot that out, if the focus, okay, so my vertex is at 0, 0 still. If my focus is at 2, 0, that would be right here. So we know that the parabola is going to the right. Well, if it's going to the right or if it were going to the left, it's going to follow that x equals a times y squared. Now it's the x that's by itself and the y that's squared. Okay, that distance from the vertex to the focus was 2. That c value is 2. So if I plug that in and say 1 over 4c, c is 2, I would get 1 over 8. And because it goes to the right, that a value is going to be positive. So x equals 1/8 y squared. Okay, so that's how we can build our equations. And then the bottom examples are just, you're doing the same thing. Whoops. Let me bring that back. You're doing the same thing. It's just now the information that you're given is the directrix. If the directrix is at, so again, we're starting at 0, 0. If the directrix is at y equals 2, well, y equals 2 would be a line up here. It's y equals, so it's horizontal, and it's at positive 2. That means the focus would be 2 down here. So that focal length is 2. That c value is 2 units. That parabola has to go down because the parabola always goes away from the directrix. Okay, so when I go ahead and I calculate my a value, the absolute value of a is equal to 1 over 4 times c. Well, I can put my c in there. That's going to be 1 over 8 again. It's going down, so it's going to be y equals negative 1/8. It's negative because the parabola is opening up down. And it's going to be x squared. So y equals negative 1/8 x squared. I always kind of just sketch out a little bit of the pieces that I know to try to help me come up with the equation. Here you have your directrix is x equals 4. So if I sketch that out, x equals 4 is a line that goes this way. So if I'm at 0, 0, that means my parabola is going to go that way. Okay, so I'm going to have x equals some a value times y squared. Since the distance between the vertex and the directrix is 4 units, my c value is 4. So when I calculate that 1 over 4c, plugging 4 in here, I'm going to get 1/16. And it's going to be negative because it's going left. Okay, so my equation would be x equals negative 1/16 y squared. That would be my equation. Okay, so go ahead and sketch yourself a graph and see what happens there. Okay, and then just going over the rest of this, these are some interesting points that you should be thinking about and hopefully recognizing with parabolas. Okay, read through those, make sure they make sense to you. Every point on a parabola is equidistant from the focus and the directrix. We showed you that in the second diagram. For a parabola, the focus and the directrix are equal distance from the vertex. They're just on opposite sides of the vertex, but they're equal distance from it. The focus of the parabola always lies on the axis of symmetry. Okay, the vertex and the focus are always on the axis of symmetry, and the directrix of the parabola is perpendicular to the axis of symmetry. So these are just some key characteristics that you should note of a parabola. And then lastly, these are just some different conic sections that we're going through. Okay, we've gone through the parabola. What a conic section is if I were to take two cones and join them, the way that these pictures are oriented, and then I were to take a piece of paper and slide it through that picture in different orientations. So if we slide a piece of paper through one cone, we end up with a parabola. That shape that you see is a parabola. If we take that piece of paper and slide it horizontally to the ground, you're going to get a circle out of that shape. If you slant that shape, you're going to get an ellipse. And if you go vertical with that piece of paper, you end up with parts of both cones, and that's called a hyperbola. In this course, we are going to look at the parabola, and we're going to look at the circle only. We're going to talk about these two, and we're not going to talk about the other two. So that's what a conic section is. And go ahead and finish up that worksheet and that textbook assignment.